Let's move to our agenda for today, why we have gathered here. Tools is such a topic that I can share tools that I want this more to be a dialogue. I'm going to share tools that I have used in the past, tools that my coworkers have used, tools that I have seen successfully execute the function that we wanted to use it for. Tools is also a very shifting landscape. Today, there are tools that were popular yesterday, but they are not relevant anymore. Tools that are relevant today, they work for, if they work for startup, they don't work for enterprise purposes. If they work for, or tomorrow, the ones that you used to use for your startup purposes, now they have become more like an enterprise model. So they keep moving. Today, they may not have any integration with other popular platforms. Tomorrow, they will have other integration with other popular platforms. So there are a lot of shifting dynamic, and then there are so many tools. If you go on Google and if you just put a search for top tools for product manager, there's a list of like top 55 tools, and it's just hard to pick one, which ones are the ones that would work for your purposes. The list that or the tools that we would review here, feel free to chime in, feel free to put your own thoughts in if you have also worked on something similar, or if you have an experience, because everybody here, all of us here are to learn from each other. So if you have seen any other tool that has been successful in your space, it would be great to discuss that here as well. So the first topic that we'll be covering are tools from my toolbox, recommendation of tools that maximize efficiency. Again, going back to the same thought process is not that those are the tools that have worked for me, not necessarily that they will work for you, because it's not cookie cutter, it's not one size fits all, but at the same time, it just would give you a frame of mind that what are those kind of tools or suite of tools to look for those kind of purposes. And it also highlights the core product management areas. So when you're thinking about product management, then those are the key areas of product management as well. So I always say the product management is part art and part science. So what we are going to see here and learn here is science part of it. But there is also a huge art part of it related to how we go about using tools. Tools will be only as good as the information that we put in it or the output that we expect from it. So we have to, in our mind, frame up what we want the tool to do. Tool is only going to listen what we want it to listen to. So the art part of it is where you have to bring yourself up to speed on what to expect from the tool, and then you can customize tool to deliver what you want it to deliver. The tool is going to assist you in delivering that piece of information. So tool for strategic road mapping, one of the very upstream of product management. The reason a lot of program managers, project managers, or from other areas move to product management is because you can make a difference. And that make a difference piece is that strategic road, be able to play a role in that strategic road mapping. As a product manager, it is your job to get access to the vision and goal of the company. What is it important for your company? Where your company wants to see, where your company sees itself in the next 3 years, next 5 years. And then from there, what the strategic road mapping does is provides you a tool. Again, this is the science part of it. The art part of it is for you to understand where your company wants to be in the next few years, and what are those initiatives, or even from those bigger initiatives, what are those key features that you should line up that would contribute to that vision and goal of the company. So this provides you, the strategic roadmap provides you that visual representation that you can take to your team members. In a product management function, you are working with a lot of other teams that may not, or most of the time will not have visibility to the company's strategic goals and vision. So it is the responsibility of the product manager to break it down for their teams. What does that mean? What does that, at high level, what does that strategic goal and vision means for the work that they are going to deliver? And how does that work contribute to the overall company's long-term vision and goal? So the tool that I have used, or I have heard about a lot, is AHA. When I was at Microsoft, and I was there for a very long time, Microsoft most of the time had its own suite of products. Internally, we used our own products, and those products mostly either on PowerPoint or Excel or Power BI for analytics, they were customized. They were customized by our vendors. We did not partner with any third-party tool. There were always custom-built templates for us to use. It was only after I came out of Microsoft and started working, first when I was interviewing and also when I started working at Kaiser, that I got to know about different suite of product. But because I already have worked on a different, not just by these brand names, but different internal custom built templates and different kinds of templates, I know when I look at a list and when I look at those templates that which one is going to work, which one is lightweight, which one is heavyweight, which one I can just work with a little customization, which one would need a lot of more work than required. So it just helps me to pick the right one for my purposes, to get that eye. So the one that as I was looking for one for our internal company for that to do that strategic road mapping, AHA had a great suite of functionality. What I liked about it is that you could do all of this in one tool. So they have made their platform richer to bundle that suite of functionality into one platform so that you don't have to move from one tool to another for every other functionality. So you can start from your company's vision and goal. You can break out to your business goals and vision. So from your companies to business, and then to generate Epic. Epic is the Uber form of before you get into break it down to features and user stories and tasks. So from there, once you have that product's vision and goal established, then you can break it down to Epic. And once you have those Epic defined, then you can break it down to feature list. And all of this, you can do this in AHA. And it also has integration with Jira, which is also becoming very popular tool for task management, for project management tool. So for prioritization, for backlog management. So this has integration. So once you have broken down into Epic and feature functionality, the benefit of AHA is that you can also integrate it into, that it has an integration with Jira, so you don't have to, there's a portability that you can move all your features into AHA.
What's Epic stand for?
Epic, I don't think it stands for anything. I don't know. I might be wrong. I always thought, because Epic is more like the strategy that company is going after, so I always thought Epic to be that's the highest point from where you start breaking down. So for example, a company that is looking for, a company's that vision and goal is to increase revenue. That's their goal, is to increase revenue by $20 million by the end of third year. One of their initiatives to meet that goal is that we are going to roll out a platform that is going to help our sales in doing business faster and better. So your Epic is going to be, for that kind of work, and just an example, high level, is say order management or Salesforce management. So ordering Salesforce or providing better platform to serve our Salesforce is going to be your Epic. And then underneath, then you break it down into features and user stories and then lower level. So Epic is the highest form. I don't know if it stands for anything, but it is the highest, the strategic vision, what you want to achieve.
In literature, an epic is a large book made up of many different stories. So the reason why it's called an epic is because an epic is the biggest way to state your overall story, then you break it down into much smaller user stories.
Yes.
It's to transfer the term from literature.
That is true. That's a very good way to define it. I guess that is the right way to define it, so thank you. There are other tools also in the market that as you are exploring AHA, you can explore these tools as well to fit for your needs and for your purposes. And also even a lot of these tools also are the place of resources. They publish their own blogs periodically on different industries, on different usability, on different areas and functionality. So those are also some great resource to sign up for and follow them. To create roadmap with sticky notes and a whiteboard and only put them in software and it's done. So that is where, again, this is before even we start creating roadmap and when we think about what should come when, and so it's a team exercise. Product manager never does anything in isolation. It is a function of bringing the right stakeholders into the room and steering them to have the right conversations. One of the tools that have been very useful for us is using sticky notes, post-it notes. Sounds very silly, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, or how many of you guys have already used that in your work culture or function. But as the trend is shifting, no idea is constant. And when you are bringing so many people in the room and you are trying to collect different ideas, sticky notes come in very handy. You can move ideas around, you can sort them, you can group them. It is very useful tool to sort your ideas, to simplify your idea, to bubble up the most important ones before you can start putting them in your road mapping tool. So it's a very good, sticky notes are a very good, I guess, a tool for product managers before you can start using these softwares to translate those ideas and those assumptions that you're building. So this is one of the screenshot of the roadmap. So this shows the swim lanes where you have your features, and then this is where you have your priorities. These are the features that you would be delivering, or this could be at the epic level as well. And then this is the timeline by when you would be delivering what. So this is just a visual representation, a lot of work. So again, I want to just re-emphasize that tool is not a magic wand. There is so much work that happens up front of this to make it this. The simpler the UI is, the harder or complex the work behind us is. So project managers have to spend a lot of time to collect all this information, but this just helps in visual representation of where you want to go, how you want to lead. And then once you establish that, this becomes your North Star. This then you can take to your different teams as you are aligning teams, as you are bringing more resources on board, as you are fighting for priorities with different sister companies, sister organizations, like in larger companies like Microsoft. This would be this would be my magic wand, that then I would take it to different teams and then I would share it with them that, hey, these are company strategic priorities. These are the features we need to deliver by this time to meet these goals, and we need your help and support, or we need these resources. So that is the intent of creating this. And then this shows that how it has integration with Jira. That helps a lot. This is such a news to me and such a relief to me, being old school where all these systems did not talk to each other, where I created something in one and then I had to recreate in another and then create in the third system, that this is such a news to me. This compared to probably if people who are starting out or work in startups or a newer culture, maybe this is the standard from where you start, but it's like my son when he opened his eyes and now he's seen iPhone. It's like you don't even know what life was before this, the flip phone, or there were no phones, and then the flip phone, and then but for him, he iPhones are nothing for him, right? So that's where it is, that I feel that it is such a big relief for me that now they have these kind of integration where you don't have to spend, you can actually all of these tools, as I was going through and building, collecting my thoughts to prepare this deck, it was so satisfying to see how technology has come and how all these different companies are building these tools, because this empowers product managers to actually do the work that they are meant for. To spend more time in strategizing, to spend more time in learning, to spend more time in doing than doing admin work. Doing admin work and creating content and creating template and creating customizing content. So which is such a big relief now that we have these different tools that exist, and they have made sure that they have this portability connection as well among each other. There is another I don't know how much is, again, being in the industry for such a long time and in product management, it is a big wave or almost like a buzzword, but it is so important because now I have practiced this in my own cases and scenarios. Tools for customer journey mapping. And it is so important for any product manager as you are thinking about any product, any feature. Do not think about it in an isolation. Think about it in first map a customer journey. What is customer journey? Customer journey is from start to finish. Customer, how and when at first your customer engages with your brand, and what are those different touch points throughout the cycle of that customer journey that customer continues to engage with your product and services till that customer is done with using that product or service. So what does that customer journey look like, and how your product or service or a feature is going to play a part in that customer journey? So that is the purpose. And this is the tool that I have used is, again, Post-it. So you bring folks together from different parts of your organization. You have a workshop. You work on those Post-it. What are those different touch points that your customer interacts in comes in touch with your brand or with your product or your service? And then you create it on a PowerPoint, and then you create it in a PDF, and that you share across the company for other conversations. Also, it is such a good tool when I am gathering folks for any product delivery from different parts of the organization to show that where in that customer journey, the product that we are going to deliver or the feature that we are going to deliver is going to impact customer, and also how the work that they do, even though they are not front-facing, they are not sitting directly in front of the customer or interacting with the customer, how in that customer journey where they sit impacts the revenue, impacts growth of the company. So this is such a good tool to bring folks together for a common mission, for a common goal, to work on that, to use this as a tool. Product manager has to have lots of different tools, templates, ideas in their back pocket, depending upon what their audience is, who they are dealing with, what they are looking for. They have to continue to judge constantly, and then be ready to pull something out from their magic hat that would support that would help in getting over the hump, getting the conversation going, bringing people in. So this is another great tool, not only to help you build the right product, but also bring other people together. And so this is what I have used in the past, and I'll show you how this just solves the purpose. And you can pretty it up. You can use different now tools, visual tools, and I have, I guess, another slide too that just shows it in a different way, where you can use the designer or graphic designer, your in-house, to pretty it up and make it, but not necessarily that you have to do that. Very well, you can build it on a PowerPoint that shows that from choosing a service to booking to check-in at the airport to in-flight to post-flight, so customer retention. So this is almost like a customer journey map for Expedia or any travel company. There are also other tools that exist today that you can use for customer journey mapping, but I like to keep it as simple as possible. There are customer journey maps that are like cobwebs. If you go and spy, it's like, oh my goodness, mind-boggling. So, but one side we want to simplify stuff, and the other side we complicate it so much that even if I were to pull that slide, like, you would be all yawning here. It's like, why are we sitting here? So we want to simplify it. We want to give it in the nugget size that people can consume, can absorb, and make it. So we want to provide information in a digestible format. And that's what, it's not just in reference to that, but in general, as product managers, we should be mindful of how can we simplify, because there is so much overload of information. There is overload of what you can build, how you can build, and hypothesis and assumption, that if you were to put yourself in those shoes will get so heavy that you will drag yourself down and your team down around as well. So think about fewer words, cleaner, neater slides, and how can you get that there with getting more visual and using less words. So tools for wireframing and mockup. So first step, so wireframing, very important, something that we as in Microsoft or any technology, old school technology company, did not do a lot of. But now, as we move towards more Amazon-like experience, slick experience, seamless experience, frictionless experience, prototyping in the mockups and wireframes and mockups and prototyping has become the key, because the early you can become, the sooner you can become visual, the more feedback you can get early on before you have gotten into that cycle of development. And that is so important. The earlier you can get a sign off on wireframe, you can create a prototype, and prototype provides you look and feel. You can click it. You can see how that would look, how it would feel. So you can gather feedback from your stakeholders, from your. There's also another thing, a thinking that is emerging a lot, and a lot of companies are already practicing it, is called co-design or partnered thought thinking. No, I'm not saying that right. Co-design is right, but the other one is not. So co-designing. Co-designing is partnering with your customer, partnering with your customers or end users to design any product or feature. And this wireframing and mockup makes it real for them. It's like, what are we talking about here? So you give them something and then you ask, how does this feel? Does it fix your pain point? So that's where this tool is very important when you're doing that co-designing as well, or aligning with your business partners. So there is what an example of wireframe is, that this is how you create a wireframe is very easy. Wireframe is just drawing the layout. It's like a blueprint of a house, as you may have seen. That's what wireframe is. But then this is how it translates into the real. But this gives you an early idea of what something, if you may have just talked about, let's redesign this page. Maybe the older page was very clunky, and let's just redesign that page. Okay, what does that redesign mean? So before you can put the full steam behind it and apply your dev resources and coding and changing, or just in isolation you go and design, you get on a wireframe, you get a wireframe, you put it in the hands of your business partners, stakeholders, that, hey, what do you have to say about this? And does it feel right? And then go from there. So this is what, in a very simple format, it shows that from wireframe, how it becomes mockup and how it becomes prototype. And so the next stage or downstream of, once you have a sign off on your.
So going back to, I've seen Balsamic, but I've never used the other one. So how do you compare Balsamic with the other tools?
So the other tools are Adobe XD. My company currently is using it. What I really like about Balsamic is that it is simplicity. You can drag and drop, and Adobe XD, you need to learn the tool. You need to know how that tool works, and there is a learning curve to that. So that's why I like that a lot, and I recommend. And that is something that as a product manager, if I have an idea, or if even I have a thinking that when I bring my team together for that ideation discussion, I can use this tool. I can go and create something myself. I don't need a designer in-house to create something for me. So I don't have to schedule time on somebody else's calendar. So that is why I like that. But this one has learning curve. And these are other ones that were highly recommended by when I was talking to my peers, or designer peers, is like, what are those other tools that you like, that you have seen? And they were like, these ones are coming in really well. For low fidelity and high fidelity, that is something that is, I guess, a technical term, but that they use. But they said like proto.io is very good, is coming up really well.
I have a quick question. Maybe this is a very basic question. I'm just trying to understand, why do we have to use a tool to actually create a wireframe? Can't we just draw it on a piece of paper and get feedback? Wouldn't that be a much quicker way to do it?
A lot of times you have to send this across. So you have to email it, you have to get feedback on changing dimensions. That clarity a lot of times may not come when you are drawing. But yes, that is if you have a co-located team where you can just sit down and you can do it, that is where these tools have only come up to support a different kind of work culture now that we have. And these tools help in getting that it's in supporting that work culture, so that all of the team can be on the same page with just one graphic view. But if that is something, okay. But if that is something that you can do, that is from where you should always start. Yes, getting folks together in the room and just having that whiteboard session, you don't need any tool for that. That is the right way to go for it.
And follow-up question on this. Do wireframes actually have to be to scale? I thought wireframes were mostly focused on getting an understanding of how the UI will look like. But do we actually have to have everything to scale? I mean, that's a question to everybody. Do you actually have to create wireframes which are absolutely to scale? Button sizes can be anything. As long as you know that there is a button going to be there, I think that is functional enough. But do we actually have to create wireframes which are absolutely to the specific sizes, locations, and everything?
I have an answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
So she mentioned high fidelity versus low fidelity tools. So if you look at Balsamic, it's actually intended to look like the sketch on paper that you were asking about. That's considered a low fidelity tool. And the reason for that, there's some psychological theories behind presenting displays and user interfaces and things like that to end users. And the low fidelity interface is meant to take away disputes about color and shape and size, and it's meant to just be a bunch of placeholders to show just the general organization and the general way a human would interact with this thing without having to go into the minutia detail that always causes the data spikes.
So in other words, I think it goes back to the question that you asked, which is just to make sure that it looks like it's a wireframe, it's very rough design and it's not exactly to scale, it's not exactly the way that your final product is going to look like. That's where Balsamic plays a huge role. Between Sketch and Adobe XD and probably tools like Marvel, Envision, you get to the higher fidelity. So at that point, going back to what Jason was saying, you get much more tight to the end product, so it becomes more of a prototype, not just a wireframe or a mock-up anymore.
As product manager, do we need that scale and that exec sketch?
What does come again?
No, I mean, okay, the question was that those, let's say, buttons has to be, or does the button have to be on scale? But as a project manager, we are not product manager, we are not designer. Do we need to make them scale all the buttons?
No, not in this initial designing phases. And then that is up to the designer, and as we move forward, the design team and that expertise, and there is also accessibility, and there are other telemetry, and there are other components that start kicking in when you start to move to that prototyping phase. This is a very rough draft of what you want it to look like. So it is like going visual very quickly from whatever initial discussions you have had. So yes, you can have that just on the whiteboard and you can draw it, and that is your wireframe. Or you can use a tool, whatever works best for your circumstances. So we're moving on. So the next stage, as I was saying, downstream of those mockups or the wireframes or mockups that you've created is the prototyping. That's the stage where you start getting serious about, because you've gotten sign off on the early designs and you know where you want to go, what you want to build, and then you want to now make it real for your business partner, for your customers, that what you are building here. And I guess I haven't populated this, what I like about it, but Envision is what our team uses currently, and they build all their prototypes in Envision, and I don't know, and whosoever I've heard or I have talked to in design, they have all of them have recommended Envision, and it looks like a lot of people use that tool. But there are others as well. Again, there are these tools that have those wireframing capabilities as well, and then they also have high fidelity advanced prototyping capabilities as well.
So I see a couple of tools are repeated. So can they do like a bunch of stuff?
Yes, so that is where they have suite of product. So you can also do wireframing in that tool, and then also you can expand and move to doing prototyping as well in the same tool. So this is a good way of showing the difference between the wireframe and mockup and prototype, and that is what we're talking about here. And when you build a prototype, then you have a link, and the tools that are some of the tools, and which I really liked was, as you are building them, you can also send a link to yourself for a mobile application or for a mobile game or whatever you're designing, and you can actually do the look and feel, and you can touch it, play with it in your phone, and also you can make changes real time in the tool, and that will be reflected and saved in in your phone, the link that you have sent, which has just the prototype. So that was really cool. So tools for product backlog management. So there are a lot of tools for product backlog management as well. What I have used before in my past life is TFS. And now in my current company, they use Jira. What do we do? What do I mean by product backlog management? As we get to a stage where we have a bunch of features that we want to deliver, how do we prioritize what do we want to deliver? How do we continue to clean our list of feature lists that are not relevant anymore, or the ones that we want to put it in icebox? So that's what the product backlog is, that your bunch of features that you want to deliver, that your team thinks are of value and you want to deliver them at some point of time. What does backlog management mean is that you go through those features and you prioritize those features based on what are those features that are of most importance or of high value, of highest value to higher value to medium value, and then you prioritize them in that order. So I did not like TFS, so I don't have any. We did use TFS because I was at Microsoft and we just used TFS, but I did not like that tool at all. Now, because we are also having a lot of other tools which are very user-friendly and user-centric, they are improving better. By the time earlier this year, I left Microsoft, they had made so many changes in TFS that even just the look and feel of it was much better. Ease of use, convenience, assigning it to other person, tagging it, the business acceptance criteria, defining conversation to save conversations, attach pictures, all of that they were already always there, a lot of features, because it was TFS, a heavy platform application. But where they were, you needed a professional, like an expert in TFS. I had to sit with somebody, a TFS expert in the room, to just do prioritization. It was not something that I could just plug and play. But then there are these other tools as well, Asana, Pivotal Tracker, and Rally. Rally is something that my company earlier used. Now they're moving to Jira. So this is how that backlog looks like, and this is Epic, and then you can see how that this is the parent, and then you have those child underneath that, and you can tag them, you can manage them that way. As you can make your Epic as the parent, and then you can make feature as the child, and then there are other user stories and the tasks as child underneath those. So backlog management is, you can do backlog, and then big part of backlog management is prioritization. How do you do prioritization? And there are different methodologies and techniques that exist out there for prioritization. There is one that I have really liked, which is easy, which again you can implement. You don't have to go through a learning exercise, not a methodology where you have to bring everybody up to speed on, because prioritization is another exercise where you bring engineering in the room, you bring your business partners in the room, you bring other expertise that is required to deliver that product, the other stakeholders in the room, and then you do prioritization. So there are a lot of different stakeholders involved when you are doing prioritization. So I really wanted to talk about that. There is a backlog management tool is important, but the methodology, how we manage, how do we prioritize backlog, is actually more important than just the tool itself. So it's called, so I found out the name about that methodology later than I had already, when I was already practicing that methodology for a very long time. And ease of use and effectiveness is what I really like, and I will actually explain it right here. So what it does is that you have a list of features. You have a list of features, and then you sort them first. So you sort them, what are must have, should have, nice to have. So there are these columns, and this feature is should have, this feature is must have, and that code is what we call internally in Microsoft is nice to have. So we first grouped them, and then after grouping them or sorting them, we ranked them. So first ranking will start with must have. So these two are must have, and now we have to rank them 1, 2. And then we'll move to should have. These 4 are should have. Now we have to rank them 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. And this is how, after you are done with this exercise, you have a prioritized backlog. You have a groomed backlog. This is called a groomed backlog. Is that now you have features prioritized in the order you want them to be delivered. And this also has a lot of input from engineering as well, because it's earlier I said that it is based on based on how do you prioritize is based on complexity and business value. So, and both have role to play. So when you are must have, should have, could have, or must have, should have, nice to have, business defines that. But also when we are prioritizing and putting ranking on it, engineering gets to say based on the complexity that yes, even though it is a must have for you, it looks like it is going to be super hard, super complex, and I cannot commit to deliver it at this time. So even though it is so important, let us talk about that how and what's the workaround and how can we deliver that. So that team also has engineering also has a huge input based on complexity. Also, you prioritize this. And then also when we are thinking about MVP, so methodology for prioritization for MVP, and this is what I go after, is that when you are thinking about MVP and when you want to go out without any bells and whistles, like just the plain vanilla of your software, of your product or service, think about what are those 20% of the features that will be used 80% of the time. Don't go through and then do prioritization in those 20% of the features when you are building your delivery plan, but not from the list of your wish list of products and features that you would like eventually all your customers to have, and prioritize from that, because that would get you into a path that is going to just take longer and it would be harder. Then tool for sprint planning and tracking agile project. So that's where we get to next. After we have done our prioritization, we have built a delivery plan, and then now we have to get into sprint planning and tracking agile project. So we should be able to estimate stories. Not necessarily product manager does that.
This is just if you're doing agile, isn't it? If you do waterfall, you're not going to do that.
Yes, but are there businesses that are still doing waterfall?
Yeah, T-Mobile does.
T-Mobile still does that? In Microsoft, it was such a huge shift. But all our engineering teams moved almost like 6 years back from waterfall to agile.
It's more like a scrum form. Like mostly it's
the combination hybrid of yes.
Yeah, they have the scrum, like you have the sprint concept.
Yes.
You have the scrum, but a lot of process behind that is still waterfall.
I agree. So a lot of teams had actually, and a lot of teams at Microsoft also do that behind the scene, even though it's called agile, because it was causing a lot of randomization. Just because in the name of agile you could shift, it was changing gears. Every sprint wasn't working out because you have such a large force of team to mobilize, and you can't keep shifting gears. So yes, the hybrid played a role where they still logged on what needed to be delivered for that period, but then they could still continue to prioritize and move in that time period. So this is how that sprint planning and making it more visual for you, that how this portfolio backlog breaks down. So this is your epic, the strategic, high level, then it is the feature level, and then user story and task, and then there's a different lane for issues. So this is how that sprint planning and tracking in TFS worked, and we did all of this in TFS. Tool for product feedback management. So as product manager, you have to find out what is the perfect tool in your company is going to be, because for that feedback management that is coming from different sources. Your customer service is getting feedback, your leadership has some feedback, your partners have some feedback, your sales team has a lot of feedback, and then all these social media channels have this feedback that people are going on Yelp and writing and are posting pictures, or are going on Facebook page and all these different platforms. So there is this tool that I have used, and I also know that a lot of companies, enterprises use this as user voice. And you can integrate all of these different platforms in it, and it does sentiment analysis, and it will throw out those, it would do crowdsourcing, run some machine learning in the back end, and will throw out what are those, group them in those key features or key feedback items, like your shipping and returns has a lot of complaints, or is an area that is emerging. So especially for larger organizations, or even in a smaller company as you are scaling or as you are thinking about that growth plan, that one of the tools that is important for feedback for product managers to think about how to prioritize their next set of backlog for their teams to deliver, that would bring value to the company, is a tool that they can rely on and trust on and continue to build their backlog of feature deliveries. Analytics, very important for product managers. Again, all of this is different functions are not necessarily a product manager would do herself in a small or large scale companies. But at the same time, a product manager needs to partner as an expert along the way with different resources to make sure that everything is being done as would a product's spec demand. So that is why it is important for you to continue to grow yourself in the area of these tools. So for web and mobile, what I have used before is Google Analytics, of course, Power BI when I was at Microsoft, and now my current company uses Adobe Tags because it is very easy to bring together these metrics from your web and mobile and see them in one single platform.
So is Adobe Tags different from Adobe Omniture? Is it same as Omniture tagging?
It is the same, yes, Adobe Omniture. Readiness and landing. So another large piece, there is no tool I have seen built for this, but readiness landing is a huge piece of any product manager's product life cycle that they're built on. And that is one of the pieces that I learned it in a very hard way when one of my managers pushed me and he was like, even if you build a perfect product, unless you prepare your receiving customer, partner, whatever your receiving end of that product is, unless you prepare them really well, your adoption of the tool is going to suffer. Are you prepared for that? And once that adoption suffers, the question is going to be asked by upper management or leadership is like, we believe the product wasn't built right. It will never come back to that, hey, we did not prepare our receiving end of the customer segment to receive that product right. We did not prepare them with that change management. Is that this change is coming, this new product is coming, this is the login information, this is how it's going to change, this is how your experience is going to change. You can find help information here, or we are going to have command center or some more resources for you for 24-hour helpline service or something. So that's a part of the change management that is very well. So a product manager has to do a lot that is not even written in job description. And that is also one of the roles of product manager, that you need to fill that gap wherever it exists, and a lot of times it is readiness and landing.
I have a quick question. What are you calling, what's readiness and landing?
So readiness landing is, as I just explained, is preparing your receiving end. So whosoever you are launching that product for, if you are going to launch a toy for kids that are from 3rd grade to 6th grade, how do you prepare? Or if in enterprise example, if you are going to release a new platform for sales team, then how do you prepare them that this is what is coming? How do you do that change management for them so that when you go live with that product, they are ready, they know about it, they are prepared to explore it, to play with it, and they know what is coming, what is the change they should be looking for, what are the benefits of having that product. So it is just one of the ways of change management.
So like rollout activities.
Rollout activities. So that is part of readiness. And then, so you are making them ready. And landing is that once you go live, then how do you, soft landing, hard landing, making that they're prepared to get it. But even if you run into some issues, then you have your backup plan. Then you have teams, you have support staff, you have calls set up, you have engineering teams they are on call, that if anything happens, then you are going to be on point for this. So having that end-to-end plan ready for the launch and post-launch. So this is one of the models. It's called AdCar Model. And for this also, if you go and read about it, there are multiple models that exist for readiness and landing. But this is one of the models that I really like. Again, for the ease of use, for the simple reason that I can explain this to anybody on a whiteboard. It is not a complex methodology. It's just an acronym, and that's an acronym that I can answer, is awareness, desire, knowledge, action, and reinforcement. What does awareness mean? And when I was building this plan, the person who is actually an expert guru in Readiness and Landing, he was the person who helped me build the plan for the platform that I was launching. And so there is a timeline that before you go live, 6 weeks before, start sending some awareness materials out from your leadership or saying that, hey, this is coming. So that's what awareness piece is. Desire, then you send before 4 weeks before launch that why should they care about this? This is coming out, that's okay. But why? What is in it for me? Why should I be looking for it? So create that desire. Knowledge, and then there is another communication probably 2 weeks before go live goes out that says, hey, this is the URL, this is how you're going to access it, this is the help material, this is FAQs and all that other readiness material. And then action, then that day that you go live, you send an email out and you make them aware that, hey, this is live, this is available for you to go and play and explore. Reinforcement, then you follow up back with them after a couple of weeks. Hey, we went live, this is what this additional information, since then we have seen our engagement go up, north, feedback, this is how we are solving it, so that's kind of reinforcement. So that is the model that whenever you are going live with any new feature for internal audience, for external audience, for customers, this is the model that you can very easily leverage to build a plan so that you can do an effective change management, so that you can prepare them for receiving the change that you are going to offer. Now, the next, so that was the longest and the hardest part. We are over the hump now, so everybody can relax, including me. Art of building your custom toolbox. So selecting tools. How do you then build, as I started out saying, that it's not a cookie cutter. What would work for her may not work for you. What would work for her needs and her company will not work for the other person. So how? Yes.
Normally, it's not the company who just decided, they want a standard that everybody will use a specific tool. Did you have that most of the places that you worked, or they really gave you whatever you want you can use?
Standardized. So for the most part, I worked at Microsoft. So Microsoft suite of products was only option that you could use. So I did not have a lot of choice into using different platforms and tools, but I also think, because I have my friends and my other coworkers who have moved to Starbucks and Nordstrom, there they have integration with Jira and Confluence and their engineering teams. So it looks like it's very company specific, not that I thought, being at Microsoft, I thought that probably that's enterprise kind of situation, that when you're in enterprises, they have one suite of product and everybody uses that same. But now I think even larger organizations are thinking, why should we reinvent the wheel?
You notice that it's licensed, you don't think about it, but it's licenses. You're not going to do, 100, they're going to just type 100 licenses for Raleigh, and then everybody knows how to use it, and when somebody's switching between jobs. So a lot of times I think companies have somebody, the upper management, or there was a sale or something, just selected one of the products. Didn't you feel that was happening, or really people could select what tool they wanted?
A lot of smaller and mid-sized companies now are offering that flexibility, that you can select. If you bring that knowledge-based intellectual property with you, that you have an expertise in using that tool and you can build a practice here, and unless they already have something established, they are open to experimenting. But if they already have an established practice and they already have a bunch of teammates who are already up to speed on something, I don't think they would be open to, if a person is coming along and even that person is very interested in a tool or platform or has used that.
Yeah, I can think of two different drivers for this. One is the kind of information that needs to go into it. So like in KP, chances are they're probably not going to be using any and all tools, depending on where you are in the organization, because you're processing insurance claims and whatnot, and you don't want very customer-specific information in there. So that's one side of the story. The other side of the story is how decentralized or centralized your decision-making structure is within an organization. Are you just optimizing yourself for speed, or optimizing yourself for some kind of consistency, something else? So when it's more like with speed, then you pretty much do whatever that it takes to get you there. and Amazon might be a prime example, like probably a bunch of teams use Chime, Workspace, and whatnot, but maybe not all teams do. They are still on Slack and do something else, for the same workspace collaboration and whatnot. So it depends on what's your organization's objective and how regulated your industry is.
I think it also depends on the organizational support. Like they might have people who would have already built some stuff related to Jira. Like okay, there is already information about the products and the teams that you have to select, and there might be integration with Jira integration with Slack integration, Jarvis, everything. So that support might already be there, and you might think in the starting that okay, I can use this tool, but in the longer run, the company would reinforce, would provide support for that. So I think like it would make sense at that time that to continue using the company's tool.
So it depends upon, going back to that, it depends upon a lot of factors on the tools that will work for you, work for your organization. So it is audience. Who are you using this tool for? If it is only for an internal team, you can have just a whiteboard session and you can just be done. But if your audience is larger audience, external audience, then you may want to use different tools for those purposes. So depending upon who are you using these tools for and how are they supporting you in addressing the need for that audience base. Level of expertise. So how experienced you are, or how experienced resources you have at hand. If you have a design team, you can probably go, or you probably have your organization has Adobe. But if you are in a startup where you are designer, you are the product manager, you are the user acceptance tester, you are doing usability testing, you are just one man doing everything, then you need to look for a tool that is more simpler, easier, drag and drop, and user friendly. So it depends upon what kind of technical expertise or design expertise or that vertical expertise you have at hand. Budget, how many, as you talked about, those licenses. So how much that cost, how many licenses can your company afford, what are those license fees going to be? Microsoft probably just enforced using their Microsoft product because, of course, we could save that money in those licenses. Right, so that was the reason. So it depends upon how much money can you only use like a free, because it's a smaller company and startup, you don't want to spend much on licenses and you would buy just a few licenses or just the free trial version. Security, as you talked about, right, in KP, even though we are integrated with Jira and a few other third-party platforms, but for a lot of our own purposes, we have to build stuff in-house because of compliance, because of regulation, because of the health information that we have. It's still when a lot of companies are moving to bring your own device, BYOD, at Kaiser we still have to have our own phone and another separate company phone. It's like taking us back to those BlackBerry days. But because there are those compliance and regulatory, because we deal with member health information. So it depends upon how secure would your organization allow to integrate with third party, or would your organization feel more secure to build their own platform? Resource.
Two questions. First of all, about Microsoft, I think it wasn't just budget, it was the idea that if Microsoft workers will use another Google product, it will just looks bad for the newspaper or something. And when you think about it, so it's of course they use theirs. And security, I didn't understand what you mean security. Like security of network, security of inside, what do you mean the information?
I can answer to that question.
Yeah.
A lot of times the designs that you make are very, very confidential. So if I'm a company guy and I'm building something on a website which is built by somebody else, I don't really know what is happening inside. Are they making a copy of all the designs that I'm making, or can they even track everything that we are doing? Yeah. It is a possibility. I'm not saying all of them do, but there are some teams which are very concerned about what sort of designs they do. So Microsoft is a very good example. They don't like to have those things out, so that is probably one of the reasons why they don't use other products. They're not very sure about it. And the other alternative is it's much more easier for them to talk with their team. If I want something in that product to design that wireframe, I don't really have to worry about somebody else stealing those ideas, or
Yes.
Even the risk of that.
Yes,
going
risk
on.
of it. It's always a risk of it. You never know. It may not happen 99.9% of the time, but companies don't want to take that risk. And with Microsoft, I mean, we dog food also. They have got 200,000 employees dog fooding their own product before even it has hit the market. So think about the amount of feedback that it generates with 6 months before that they get their products out and they refine it, they tweak it, and they are better prepared to launch it in that broader market. And then resources. So what resources you have in-house? Can somebody build up your custom platform, or you have to, if you don't have any resources in-house, then you have to go and partner with third party. And then capacity. If you're a smaller company with a smaller budget and with a smaller customer base or the needs of the users, or how do you see yourself scaling over time? Because you don't want to get yourself logged into another smaller company. If you were going to scale over time, then what is that roadmap looks like? So that is another piece to keep in mind as you think about the tool for your own purposes. And then there are, so this is not the deck that okay. This slide was supposed to go a little later, but you can look at it now. Earlier or sooner or later, that doesn't matter. But these are some of the books. So this was actually for the topic. Let me go to that topic actually. For this, setting product managers up for success. So that tells me that my future slide is also not going to be perfect. But so setting yourself up for success. So those are the tools, but at the same time, we have to continue to grow. As I was saying, product management is art and science. So how can we continue to grow ourselves in the world of product management? These are some of the industry bestsellers books for product managers. And I love them. I haven't read all of them, but they are in my list right now and sitting in my Kindle. I have read some of them, like this one. Oh, the scores take care of itself. Like such a good methodology or such a good thinking. And these people are from different industries. So they are not product managers, which is where we product managers are encouraged to look into other industries. Not IT shouldn't be only looking at IT or what other IT companies are doing in this space. Look at airlines. Being in healthcare, look at other industry. No, I don't have to look at other healthcare, what Premera is doing, what Aetna is doing, or what Swedish is doing. I should be looking, so drawing that industry parallel. And this is where it gets so cool, because all these writers they are not product managers. They come from different industries, but they have formulated an opinion on these topics, and diverse opinion and diverse mindset. This person used to be the leader. Who started doing talks on leadership used to be a coach for San Francisco football team. And he turned that team around in 1984-85, where they won 3 Super Bowls in a row. After nobody was ready to buy that team, to support that team had seen the worst streak ever. So these are just the concepts that how he brought that vision, unity, in the team, is that how you should continue to set those standards and bar and continue to do the right thing, and then scores will take care of itself. Don't go after score. So don't go after that end result only. Think about how you are going to achieve, what is that means is going to be to that end. And these are some other books. And also there are a list of, oh yes, I think it is from there. So Khosla Ventures, it's a website, it's a company for venture capitalists, and they have a resources section. And they always keep listing books from their different ventures that they do and the writers, and they think are impactful in making a difference in future. And these are some of the books that they recommend on their site. And I love going back to the resources section, and that's from where I build a lot of my library to read books on. Okay, so beyond Toolbox and Skills Critical, so those are some of the books that you should continue to read and grow yourself, and continue to look for other product management resources to continue to grow yourself and bring that different industry perspective into the work that you are doing. But then there are also other skills, which is like a combination of a skill set, the art part of it, being a hustler. So product management is not something where you would be served something on the platter. There is something that you have to hustle, get work done, because you work with so many people, so many difference of opinion, so many different ways of doing, but you have to hustle to get the work done because of dependencies and interdependencies. Scrappy. It doesn't matter if you are in a larger organization or in a smaller organization. You have to get scrappy to get to what you're looking for. Larger organization, a lot of times just getting resources takes forever. If as a product manager, I say that I need a designer for this purpose, it would take 3 months at least to get that resource sanctioned for me to get that resource and get to work on a project that I need, where I will already be then 3 months behind in my timeline. In smaller companies, you don't have money to get that resource. So you have to find ways to get scrappy. Curious. As a product manager, you always have to continue to be curious, looking around yourself, looking at how you can change, how this can be done differently. Right? Even when we are standing, there are some things, a lot of things that we have grown up seeing, and we think that this can only be this way. But how to build hypothesis around it? Even for the red light, when we are standing on red light and it's like, what can we do different with this? Pedestrian crosswalk, this has always been like this, but what can we do differently with this? Just kind of building hypothesis on a very basic things around us. Just kind of doing that mind game with you, and then that builds up over time. And now I see myself asking questions in meetings where I'm like, am I supposed to ask question right now? Would I look dumb asking this question? But every time I pause and I ask a question, and there are 3 more people who would say, oh yeah, I also had a question. I'm like, why weren't you saying anything this far? Yeah, I felt like I was just being dumb, right? So whenever you pause and you ask question, it is always you are doing a favor to everybody else, because most importantly, mostly that the other people also have similar questions. Open mind. As you work as a product manager, because you work with so many different kinds of people and everybody brings in their own idea, you cannot let yourself be very focused, narrow focused on what you want to build. You always have to have that open mindset to be inclusive of different ideas that people are bringing in, which is really hard as a product manager, because you get emotionally very attached to what you're building. Because you are the one person who's been associated with that product since the very beginning, since starting from the strategy to vision, goal to strategy to everything, you build that assumption in your mind that, hey, I know this the best. But continue to keep that open mind. Your designer, your engineering team, your legal, your compliance, everybody will have an opinion and will continue to transform what you transpired in the beginning. And the end result is going to be very different from what you started with. But keeping that open mind is very important. Building credibility. Another extremely important criteria, important quality to have, building credibility, because you are working with so many team members. Building that credibility only makes them follow you as a leader, makes them trust you, makes them believe in you, that you are going to build something great. The vision that you are displaying in front of them is something for them to come along for. That you are there for a good ride with this product manager. Hey, we'll build this product, we'll get it right. Not the first time, but second or third time, but we'll get there. So building that credibility in your team members, in that team, because you really are the leader of that product or the feature set. Staying focused. There are so easily you can get distracted. Again, because there are so many different cooks in the kitchen that can have impact on driving this. So you have to stay very narrow focused, keeping that North Star, that what you are going to deliver for a customer, how is this going to make a difference to your customer, keeping that as your North Star and continue to only moving forward to meet that North Star and not getting distracted with anything else. Risk taking. Be able to take calculated risk, which is another very hard skill to have. You want to be very calculated. Your next step, you want to be as precise as I can be, but you would never have enough information. If you have collected already a lot of information to take the next step, you are already late to deliver your product. It is okay to build hypothesis. That's where also over a period of time, experience kicks in, because then you can start to see the trends, you start seeing pattern, and kind of you start building hypothesis, and you start trusting your hypothesis. But to even get there, it is important to fail so that you can develop that muscle in you, because that's an important muscle to develop. Learn something new. You guys came here to listen to talk, to meet new faces, to meet each other. That is a very positive sign in that you already have that streak in you, which is very good. That's an important skill set for product manager, to learn to bring that outsider's perspective in, to learn about new things that are happening around us. Again, not necessarily in product management, because we need to bring in those different cross vision inside the work that we are doing. And then giving back to community. So this, I come here, talk to you guys, get that feedback in, learn something new from you all, share something that I have, is my way of giving something back to the community. And I always walk away learning something new every day that I come in, because every person brings in a very different, from different career, from different professions, different companies that you work at, all of you bring in a very different perspective. And this is my way of learning something new. You guys, in whatever role or capacity you are, be a mentor to somebody, share something about yourself with somebody. Their curiosity, their questions will keep you very honest. They will keep you focused, will make you learn something new about yourself, about profession, about the work that you are doing. And then in the end, be patient and continue to do the right things, and you will see yourself maturing over time. So this will not happen because product management is a role where you continue to grow. You learn something new. Every time I think that, oh, this time, now that I've learned this in the past, I will get this plan right, and I'm going to plan for every contingencies, and there is something new that happens. So this is how it is going to be. So learn whatever you can learn, think about all the tools, everything you may plan, and in your mind it will be, yes, it is, I'm going to do it just right this time, but this is how it is going to be. But then that's where the opportunity is. That's where you grow. That's where once you are on the other side, oh, the flag is actually right. So you feel that you have accomplished, because that's where you, over time, 15 years, 10 years, you'll see that, oh, then that's where intuition starts building up. But then there will be intuition for one pit hole, but then there will be another one for which you will build that intuition later. With that, I rest. Thank you so much for coming in tonight and being that engaging audience. It was really nice. For a Thursday evening, you guys did an excellent job. So give a round of hand for yourself.